Good morning, Washington. How y'all doing, everybody? This is Big Dave here on Dave TV for the 7th of May, 2011. And what's the big news? George Goober Lindsay has passed away. Remember he played Goober on the old Andy Griffith show? Yeah. Remember he was also a frequent guest on the McLaughlin group. Mort, what do you think about that? Goober, what do you think about that? Mort, Goober. No, just a joke. So anyhow, that's the big news today. When I was in college at JMU, my roommate lived in Marion, Virginia, and I would go down to visit him, which was way in the far southwestern part of Virginia, almost Tennessee. And when we were there, we would often go over to Bristol, which is this little town on the border between Tennessee and Virginia. And there was a big sign that would say, "Welcome to Bristol, Virginia, home of George Goober Lindsay." So they were really proud of their native son. Passed away, 83 years old. I was never a big fan of the Andy Griffith show, Mayberry RFD and all that stuff. But, hey, kind of cool name, right? Goober! All right, folks, what's the big news? Oh, they're having secret meetings, apparently, over at the Washington Post. Washington Posties are meeting in secret to discuss what's wrong with the paper. And, wow, can't talk while we got Mel Gibson's The Beaver playing over there. Somebody lent me that. I'm like, it's crazy. Anyhow, so they're having all these secret meetings over there at the Washington Post. So what the hell are we going to do with this paper? The Post is a pretty good paper, as it always has been. But I think in the Metro section, I think specifically in the style section, they've really fallen lately. The New York Times, the Wall Street Journal are consistently better papers every day. Way better than the Washington Post. The Washington Post doesn't quite know what it is. I think that's the main problem. They don't know whether they're a national news source or a local news source or whatever. And I had a professor at JMU tell me once, if you don't know what you are, you're trying to be everything to everybody, you're going to fail at everything. And I think that's what the Washington Post is doing. They're trying to be too many things. They don't quite know what they are. Are we a local paper? Yeah, kind of. Do we cover local media news? Well, kind of. Do we cover local sports? Yeah. Do we cover, they're like, the paper is all mixed up. They don't quite know, in this whole unsettled media universe, they don't quite know where they are. Other newspapers have kind of just said, Wall Street Journal, we're a international news source. Forget it. That's what we are. The New York Times is doing that too. And they've done a better job of differentiating that, hey, local here and national here. The Post still, I don't think, quite gets it. They just, you go to that website and they're, they just don't quite know their identity anymore. And there's so many blogs. Washington is such a news-centric market. So many political blogs, so many media blogs, so many blogs of every other type, and so many other media sources now with all the TV stations and their websites. You got NBCWashington.com, which is a damn good site over there at Channel 4. You got a lot of these websites, WJLA.com for Channel 7, WTOP. You got DCS, you got me, you got all these other blogs, you got, the Politico, and there's so many news sources out there hitting the Washington Post from so many angles, and the Washington Post is confused, and they don't know what they're doing, and they're kind of, and then they make a whole bunch of blunders. This morning's Washington Post had 7 or 8 corrections on page 2. That's a lot. The other day, they made a correction that one of the Beastie Boy guy died, and they got the date of his death wrong by like a month. They said he died in early April when he died in early May. I mean, just dumb blunders like that, and you just wonder, this paper is just, screwed up. Every major news source makes mistakes and all that. I mean, no human being is ever free, but you just look at some of the Washington Post mistakes and it's just silly, embarrassing stuff. Oh. So what other big news from the weekend other than the slumping, slacking Washington Post? Channel 13 cut the last few minutes of the Orioles game. Here's Channel 13. Basically, the Orioles games are on MASN, all of them. And it's like all the Nationals games are on MASN. But once every weekend, MASN lets a local TV station pick up a game. So Channel 50 will pick up a Nationals game on Sunday. Channel 13 picks up an Orioles game on Sunday. So they're running the game. Starts at 1:35, and blah, 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 blah. Here it is, 7 o'clock in the evening. They're in the 16th inning, tied with the Red Sox. And Channel 13, which is owned by CBS, has to cut away and go to 60 minutes because that's the cardinal rule. And, who knows how long this game could go on. It could go on all night, So they cut away. And, of course, a lot of people in the Baltimore media community are screaming bloody murder. I guess, there's a few people in Baltimore that don't have cable TV. And, if you're an Orioles fan, want to watch the games, there's no way to get around not having some kind of satellite or cable TV to watch MASN. You got to do that. You can't rely on the Channel 13 game every Sunday if you're an Orioles fan and you want to watch the team, other than listening to them on the radio. If you're, you got these people that were screaming bloody murder because, oh my goodness, I couldn't watch the game anymore. It's like, I can understand what 13 did, but again, hey, if you're an Orioles fan, you got to have MASN one way or the other. And, if you had MASN, there would have been no problems there. Ric Edelman, ricedelman.com. Ric Edelman, cool guy there. He's been giving the personal finance show there on the WMAL now. 20 years, 20th anniversary for Rick. It's amazing. Ric Edelman is the longest running, continuously running personality show / whatever on WMAL. 20 years for Ric Edelman. I doubt anybody, I'll make a bet. In 20 years, nobody on WMAL that's currently being heard today will be heard. Maybe let's make it 2 years, 3 years from now. Will anybody still be at WMAL that's there today? It's a doubtful situation, right? We also hear from some folks over there in Manning Broadcasting. DCRTV told you last week that Manning was getting back WWEG 1069, the Eagle up there in Hagerstown, classic rocker. And they were also getting Key 103.1 WAFY Hot Adult Contemporary in Frederick. From Nassau. Nassau Broadcasting owns a whole bunch of stations in the northeastern United States. They, Chapter 7, bankruptcy, liquidation, blah, blah, blah. So the stations are now going to Manning. Manning was owed a bunch of money from Nassau during that sale of WWEG, which was WARX years ago. And they had some promissory note and something. So basically they had a whole bunch of debt that Nassau owed them. So they get the stations back. We're hearing from some top folks over there at Manning, which is based in Frederick, that there will be no major changes at either station. Expect classic rock to continue at 1069, hot adult contemporary to continue on 103.1 out of Frederick. And most current jocks will continue to be current on both stations. So that's the big news there. Yeah. And another funny story from last Friday. 98 rocker Mickey Cucciella spilled a cup of coffee into the Hearst Rock radio station studio console board on Friday, knocking WIYY off the air for about 20 minutes. I mean, I have guested at some radio stations, and I'm always told, and when I go down to WEBR down there in Fairfax, which they call themselves a radio station, they have a big sign up saying, do not have any drinks in the studio whatsoever. One little drink spill on that console board, and you're talking about, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of potential damage. And most radio stations have that, as a firm rule, no drinks, no cups of coffee, no sodas anywhere near that console board. All you do is one little drink spill and boom, woo. I think maybe they need to re-educate some 98 rockers about studio rules. Okie dokie, folks. That's about it for today on Dave TV. It's a kind of a partly cloudy Monday here in the Washington area. There we go. Tip of the old combat cap here to George Goober Lindsay of Bristol, Virginia, or Tennessee, whichever. I don't know which side of the border he came from. Thanks for watching Dave TV for today. So there.